Okay, welcome everybody. This is a concept with Dave Phillips, and tonight we're going to continue on with the Octorock. And let's see here. So what I hope to do with this streaming series is to kind of put together various concepts from start to finish, which means going through the process of thumbnailing and creating really rough designs, and a lot of them, and then going through the editing process and through the rendering and color process. So last week we created these sketches during our hour, and today I'm going to do some editing and cut those down, but I also want to, oh dear, so for my other development, our character development, I'm trying to keep myself to making sure I do at least 12 designs per character, like 12 very distinct designs, so that I can have a palette to choose between before I go on to the color process. And here's another kind of example of that. And so ideally I'd get 12 strong designs for our Octorock here, and then go from this to a full color piece that would show hopefully the kind of rendering style and materials and all that kind of thing that I would like to have it look like how it would look in game. So that's our goal initially. So this week we'll continue on with our studies, and then hopefully the week after we'll get on to doing a color study of our Octorock. So I'm going to just make a copy of this from last week, and like I said before, I like to sketch in solid adjustment layers in the mask area. Just makes things a little bit easier. So the first thing I'm going to do is get rid of all the bad designs, or all the completely useless designs. So I'm going to take all these guys, and the reasons are fairly obvious, but I think that these designs on the left here are far too one-to-one with the original designs that I've seen before, and my goals for this project are to, while staying in sort of the spirit of the original content, but to create some really distinct different designs. And so I think this is just kind of too close. This is pretty boring, and this is ugly. So we ended up with, let's see, oops, this guy. So we got halfway there, which is not bad. So if we average that today, we'll be right on track. So I'm just going to line these guys up a little bit, and eventually I'll make these nice and neat and give them a little shading. But first I really just like to get out just the ideas, get those down on paper. So you notice that most of these sketches are really loose, and as soon as I could see the design, I stopped for the sake of giving it a little space and getting out a different design. So let's do that. So to recap, Octorock is some kind of octopus, amphibian, weird thing. She is usually has some kind of rock covering, and usually has tentacles, and is a land creature often, although sometimes he appears not. So, and he is normally, I would say, less in height to our player character. So he's a lower level menace. let's see here, where can we start with this? Let's get some lower masses. So right now I'm just kind of looking at the shapes I've already made, where things kind of sit in the design proportionally, and you know, where my volumes are, my masses, and where I'm gesturing, all that kind of stuff, where I'm putting things basically. And at this point I'm trying to explore areas I haven't in these ones. So where haven't I put some of these parts of the body in terms of, oh, I really only have two that have the low set eyes in terms of the ground, so maybe I try something like that again in terms of starting off. Oopsie. Except we don't do that. Never ever do that. When you get thirsty, you take a drink. Hello, Amy21 and 79 and Wooden Toy. Thanks for joining me. So, I use a pretty basic pencil brush, or pencil style brush here, and I'm working at 30% opacity as I sketch things out. And so it kind of mimics if you've ever drawn with, like, say, a 7H pencil or something like that, where you're first sketching and you want something really light. You can just kind of really lightly put things in. For some reason their designs have, like, they're growing treetops on top of them. So let's try a design like that. So we're not gonna do the exactly the way they have it there. It could be something. Let's see. Maybe. Starting to get my frog voice. I'm sick. Maybe it's sort of like a sort of algae eaters on the side of your fish tank. Something that's kind of funny about, well, different characters are going to make you feel different things, and there's something kind of funny about, like, a character who's, like, doesn't an enemy who doesn't look that menacing, who almost looks just fumbling into, I don't know what's going on here yet. Oh man. There's something about him looking like a fish out of water is I guess it's just kind of funny. So we'll just try that a little bit. This might suck though. Very well could. Man. Put that to the side for right now. This is why I kind of like to work across a bunch of different designs at once. I hit sort of a roadblock with one, and I move on to another one as fast as I can. Alright, let's get some better octopus eyes. They have the weirdest shaped pupils. They look so alien. That's probably why I picked them first, because octopuses are just fun to draw. And screw up in terms of entertainment value, personally. I did not think about the Super Bowl being on tonight because I don't care about that stuff. But it explains the silence tonight. So we'll just consider this a practice run. Getting better at talking all the time during it. Starting to like this thing a little bit. I don't know what it is yet though. He does not look terribly capable. But he does kind of make me laugh. Let's see, do all of them have, I guess not all of them have the rocks up top, and then maybe we'll just do some spots on this one. Sort of like a weird egghead or something. Oh, God. Not sure what that was. Boost in Photoshop. I should probably crunch ice off mic. It's a bad habit. So, when I'm drawing quickly, I'm just trying to express the design in the least amount of strokes possible, basically, so that I can not wear myself out during this idea stage and really just get to what's good as quickly as possible and maintain my stamina across the entire design or set of designs. Because a lot of times when you're working with this stuff, you just go in circles as far as like trying to get everybody to agree on how something should look or function. And so this stage is really just about getting to where you can communicate basic design, so someone can look at it and get the basic idea. And then you can argue about it. Have great fun. So this guy's not very complicated, but he's just about there, so I'll let him go in a minute. See, that's the nice thing about this weird momentum. Ooh, there you go. You start off with a really bad design, and you feel blocked, but there's no reason to stay with that, so you let it go for a minute and try something else and get unblocked. Distraction is amazing. Alright, let's go for another one. instead of tentacles. I also like to flip my drawings a lot because I'm dyslexic, so it helps me see problems. I've introduced. It helps point out what's wrong pretty quickly, even though you can't see what I'm about to do here because it's just a bunch of gobbledygook. But for me, there's some intent behind some of these shapes here. Alright, let's see if we can pull this thing out. Let's see. So the debate goes on as far as what the rock is. Is the Octorock eating rocks? Sort of like a chipmunk situation in terms of storing the rock in the pouch. I don't know. Is that the poop chute? Does he just have really incredibly hard feces that he is shooting from his ass mouth? I don't know. It's got a little bit more character. I love how, like, seahorses have these like long, sort of just dangly, bobbly bits. So just purely there for decoration. So we'll add some of those in there. All day I've been missing the Super Bowl. And I've not been missing the Super Bowl. It's like I don't know. Try to see other things in it. Alright. The skirt of everything, I think. Anyway, but when you talk about the sort of abbreviating different aspects of the design so you can communicate it in a drawing quickly. So for example, right here I'm doing these little indications of the suckers on a octopus or squid. But I just kind of line the area with circles, which is the bottom face in terms of the geometry of the suckle. The suckle. the sucker. Anyway. And I can just distort that very basic primitive over the contour of the shape here, so like going along this way, and then making it feel like it's receding into the back. And I can just kind of outline the whole thing, pull it together a little bit. to do some more Twitch research because I have not figured it out yet. I was watching a bunch of channels earlier where there were a whole lot of people watching, not a whole lot. There's some magic on it. I can't figure it out yet. So if we get our dozen, we can sort of feel like we've more or less exhausted the major notes or the major cues that we could take. And then start making some judgments on what direction we'd like to take it. This one aside for a little bit. I actually did more to it than the other one. So I kind of just free sketch and then try to do some quick layout. Do my foot check. Bring it a little bit more closer to the height of this guy, or her, I think. And I'm gonna try to sneak it in here. Actually, let's do this. So this is like typography for concept design. Trying to find the negative spaces where your little sketches fit together. It's like a puzzle. Alright. This one's looking worse and worse. But we're doing good. If we have two, we're doing alright. Let's see here. Yeah, we got plenty of time. Alright, where can we go next? I wonder if we do something where he looks a little bit... Let the tentacles look a little bit more substantial in terms of pose. A bit more. Looks like he could be a spider. Which then he starts to look like Tektite or no, I can't remember that weird little jumpy bug. That's gonna be fun. Alright, it's not too bad. We'll get something with this. Question is, how many legs? So, as you can tell, this is my sort of main character here, and this is so I keep in mind my general proportions and scale and frequency. And when I mean frequency, it's kind of like how often is there a change in the area, in the design? How often do you break up the big shapes with smaller shapes? And you know, how many, if this little pattern along the rim of her skirt, or I'm sorry, tunic, right now I can count 1, 2, 3, 4 little squares across, if I wanted to increase the frequency, I would say I should be able to count 8 squares across. So that kind of thing. So you look at kind of the general frequency, how many little pieces have you cut up your big pieces into. And if the scale in your game is based all around that, then you kind of try to get it sort of even relatively, so that things like enemies, which should have a certain amount of importance to your eye and grab a certain amount of attention, are relative to this main character, which you'll be seeing a lot of. So let's flip our guy again. Actually, no, that would... Alright, let's just go for 4. Let's do it. And when I'm working in, excuse me, working in a mask on a layer adjustment means I can do things like run a levels adjustment and reduce the transparency of my drawing really quickly, as opposed to trying to erase it or, you know, subtly take the transparency out. Anyway, it's just really quick way to knock a drawing back but still have your underlying sketch, and then that way you can kind of go in and get in on it with this guy. Let's get, I think, a little bit smaller eyes. Maybe that's my problem. I've been doing big eyes so much everywhere, I get used to it. But there's nothing that says it's gotta be big eyes. Ooh, I like that. I don't know why I always like this sort of motif with angled pupils. It's kind of like, look interesting. You kind of notice certain biases or tendencies as an artist, things you'll always go to, or things that you associate with the subject matter. And I tried to keep a balance between how often I utilize that and how often I fight it, because you can get to where you're just kind of doing the same design over and over again as an artist, and I despise repetition. I just always want to try something fresh. I don't know, just try. So that's what we're doing here. This guy's like, I don't know, maybe I'm starting to like him, and you know what, maybe I'm just going to do a little bit of that, because that makes me happy. And that's pretty much the whole design principle behind, that's redundant, that's pretty much the whole principle behind the design of this project, is to kind of make it absolutely just the way I feel like I'd want it. It's very selfish, but it's a way to kind of explore how I work. And it kind of takes the process out of the normal context of the studio, where you're dealing with so many different people and you're working within a team, and you've got so many different stakeholders in terms of who has vested interest in what we're doing, and a completely viable one. But ultimately it means that you just can't try certain things sometimes. So I created this as an excuse to try anything I wanted and see what happened. I really like the idea of when an artist, no matter who it is, you just kind of let them go for a while and see what they come up with. Because because each one has like so many different life experiences that they're just going to solve problems creatively completely different. And it's all interesting, really. This is weird. I think I like it. I like a laka. And then too, when I get this sort of perfect dozen, I'll mix and match some of those attributes into the final design. Kind of cherry pick all my favorite bits that kind of go together. And that will end up in our final. Alright, I need to get out of this guy as soon as possible so we can get on to a better idea. Because I can see it, but the drawing's not there. It's a shame to actually draw on top of it when you finally found an arrangement, because sometimes you kind of see a design and you're like, oh, I know how that'll turn out. I won't mess that up at all. And then you do. Alright, but we're doing pretty good. We got 3 not so bad ones. We'll get one out of this. And we'll hit our dozen before the end of the evening. I'm trying to keep this sort of goggle, but more in the form of whatever this skull shape is. I'm a big fan of gills on anything. They just look kind of cool. There we go. It just might turn out. Can you feel the tension? Start to imagine how this guy would walk around. Oops, artifact over there. Alright, this is going somewhere maybe. Welcome, Unique Bot. Alright. Actually, kind of liking this one. Weirdly enough. Something about this goggle thing actually works. I'm not sure about. We'll do one with a shorter snout in a minute. Not sure I like that bit, but. So the whole technique I am always using is a series of gestures that get reduced in opacity and then drawn over and corrected and corrected and corrected. It's all about pretty much going with an instinct and then correcting it with some analysis afterwards. So I try to respect that initial gesture because usually there's just something in there and you don't know what it is. You're chasing it down. And also try to make it make sense visually and be critical of what you're doing. I kind of see like this sort of almost gorilla-esque kind of motion with it. Except with the back tail. And let's see, if we're getting really serious about our planes, that isn't there. This. And like I said, even though we don't have a ground plane, we kind of imply it by we smush into that plane. And even where this ends up landing. So these little bits agreeing right here, and well, roughly there, are what start to sort of give you a consistent sense of space in a drawing, even though you don't have any other reference given the background, or lack of it. So we'll almost get out of this one quick as we can. I kinda like him. Which for me is saying something. I have a terrible habit of not liking things when I'm done with them. Or just seeing problems. Alright, I think he's cooked. Alright, he's pretty cool. Let's look at what he's doing right. Which, I like that, oopsie. I like that goggle motif. So now we're starting to crowd ourselves here, but we're all to be okay. Okay, let's bring back some of these rocks. Let's bring back the goggle. What do we want to do with the legs? Maybe we'll just try a starfish sort of footprint like that. So now we're going to mix and match and still try to find something new, but use some of those elements. So we have this sort of starfishy plant here. Feeling that. Yeah. Thank you, Amy2179. Trying to figure out what was going good in that. Alright, we had this sort of like maybe oopsie, don't want to knock that out of the drawing. This is kind of simple. Let's figure it out. So I'm running layers adjustment on my mask. Just to knock down that pencil a little bit, or digital pencil. And what is going on with this one? Kind of a sweep-a-doops, to be technical. And we're just going to put that snout a little bit forward. Oh wait, here you go. Something reminds me about a character design from an old movie called The Wizards. Actually, this almost looks like his head. It's alright. Weird is good. Okay, well, let's get a little bit. Continue on this shape here. So what I try to do is sort of fit shapes in the nooks of other shapes so that they kind of complement each other. So then you have lines or areas and borders that kind of have a similar curve, but they're offset, and that seems to make things kind of sit together nicely and relate. mouth. Always gotta love a stock eye. Says like a hermit crab kind of deal. Which actually, maybe that's not bad, Al. Way to go. Actually, it almost looks like some of the old designs in terms of where the mass is, or where the mass is. Okay. Not totally there, but there's something worth exploring. Trying to find that perfect zoom level. Okay, 3 minutes. Let's get it. This last design if it killed me. Last time we did this, I tried to push and it didn't quite turn out. But this one has a good, I think some pretty good bones underneath. We could probably rock this pretty quick. Alright, stock eyes. We're gonna suppose a sort of crustacean shell on the top instead of whatever that weird rock stuff is. Not that this is any less weird. And we'll see if we can just go for that. I keep doing the same pupil shape, but we're not gonna worry about that. Alright. I like that Kermit the Frog or something. Alright. Alright, I'm going to try to give these tentacles just a little bit more shape. Oh, come on. Oh, we're going to go over a little bit. Alright. Oh! That's the one thing. So I often get off register with my keyboard. It sits off to the side here and then I hit the wrong button. Like a dang dingus. Like a Class A fool. In front of all the millions of not people here. Almost there. Alright, let me get this one, and that would be in the back. And when you're trying to move fast, fill it in with contact shadows, and everyone will think it's correct. Don't tell anybody. Alright, almost there, but you know what? This needs just that little bit more. So if you'll stick around for that minute, give it that little bit more. And then next week, we're going to need to mix these designs together into a final design and start our color pass. Yeah, that's pretty close. He probably could use something going on with these a little bit more, but for shape, basic idea, sure. Alright. So now we got this guy. That's not too bad. Alright, so we got our Dirty Dozen. This now represents thanks, Dusty. Alright, cool. So now we got our basic spread here. We can make some real decisions. When we come back next week, we'll edit these down and take our favorites into a final design, and then we'll move into color. Thanks for sitting with me today, even though that it was Super Bowl Sunday, and you, as good Americans, should probably have been watching that. So shame on you, but thanks for coming out, and I will see you next week.